Okay. So we're making a rum cake.
Yay!
And we start with the yellow cake mix that we make a little differently than the box. We put a box of vanilla instant pudding in with the dry ingredients.
Okay.
And then we put 4 eggs and a quarter cup of oil, a quarter cup of water, and a quarter cup of rum. And bake it at 325 for an hour.
Lovely.
Now, I have a tip for these kinds of non-stick pans.
This is a non-stick bundt pan.
When you want to loosen it up a little, use a plastic knife.
Okay.
That's going to help you break any kind of connecting cake, any little piece of cake that's connected there, but it's not going to spoil the finish.
Nice.
You can do the same on the outside.
Okay, and I can see it's pulled away nicely from the edges.
And I just kind of bounce a little.
Make sure it's free of the pan.
Make sure it's free of the pan.
But it's staying in there.
Well, for the time being, we're going to take it out briefly and then put it back in.
Okay.
Get a larger paper plate to hold it when we do that.
Meanwhile, we're melting some butter.
This is half a cup of butter, which is 1 stick.
Gotcha.
Okay. Turn this down a little.
Now it's on low.
What goes in there with it?
Okay, we'll get back to that.
Is a cup of sugar. And I made this, just fill the sugar up so it's a little difficult to pour out of it.
Understood.
So, I'm left to shoveling it out now. But it is a cup of sugar.
Okay.
And the butter has not quite finished melting.
And you did turn it down to low. Because you're not trying to make brown butter. You're just trying to melt it.
Although, if you did inadvertently brown the butter, I don't think there'd be anything wrong with that.
Because we are making a glaze, after all. A rum glaze for the rum cake. Okay.
And I think that would probably complement the rum. I certainly wouldn't throw it out.
All right.
Not unless it was burned.
And you would know it.
Yeah, you would know it. It turns black and it smells funny. The brown butter is just brown.
Yes.
All right, that looks like a cup of sugar to me.
All right.
So now, just going to let that melt just a little bit more.
That sounds super low. All right. Here on the range. And when did you find this recipe? You've been doing this for many winters, many holidays.
Yes, this was in a recipe book that was offered by Bacardi Rum. And it was in the holiday season. And I was at a liquor store in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And they had it up on the counter. It was almost like a giveaway, right?
Yes, yes.
Now what goes in here is a quarter cup of water. Oops.
Okay.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay.
Wow.
And now we want to stir it until the sugar melts.
And so, tell us what happened when you started. There's my son. My son is texting me in the middle of this video. Okay, dear. Thank you very much. He's in another state enduring a winter storm, and we are here in South Central Texas having some fun after dinner making rum cake. So anyway,
I was in there getting some liquor for probably Christmas dinner or something like that, and this was a little book about different recipes using Bacardi rum. A little giveaway, so I picked it up, and it had this recipe for rum cake that sounded really good. I cannot drink any alcohol. I'm sort of allergic to it.
And some people just don't like it.
And some people don't like it, but I like the flavor of rum.
Sure.
And this is not one of those cakes that you bake and then you soak with rum. No, this is one where the rum goes in the batter.
Oh.
And so it's cooked out. And then after it's cooked, this glaze is put on. And the glaze has rum in it too.
By the way, I see you turned the heat back up. Since you put the water in and started stirring, you're back up to like 7, 8 now.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And so then what happened?
So, so I wanted to give it a try because there's other kind of rum cakes where you're putting the rum, soaking the rum onto an already baked cake. That alcohol is still in that rum, and I can't have any cake like that.
Right.
But the recipe was for the rum to go in the batter and actually be baked in the cake.
Mm-hmm.
And so the alcohol does come out of it.
Sure.
And the glaze recipe as well. You melt this sugar and water and butter, and you let it come to a boil,
Mm-hmm.
and you boil it for 5 minutes.
And here it comes. You
Yes.
see that? It's happening.
Now, I sometimes let it boil a little longer than 5 minutes. It really depends on what I think of it. I like it to be a little more syrupy and a little less watery than just 5 minutes.
You like a thick glaze.
Not real thick. I want the cake to be able to soak it up.
It has to be pourable.
Yeah, it has to.
Yes, you have to be able to pour it.
Yeah,
But
I don't want it to go watery. I'd rather have a little body to it.
Well, be careful. This is sugar this hot. It could be very dangerous.
Yes.
So be careful in the kitchen, folks.
Yes.
In fact, you should probably be holding that handle.
And I'll turn this down a little.
Okay.
Because if it looked to me like it was going to come up and come over the edge,
Yes.
I would simply pick the pan.
Off of the heat.
Yes.
Very carefully, straight up.
So I'm just checking the time. It's 9 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to boil this. And you don't have to stir it constantly. That is not necessary.
Well, it's been at least a minute and a half that it's been boiling.
Well, I know it's going to be a little longer than 5 minutes.
Oh?
Because it always is.
Okay.
For my liking.
All right.
For my liking.
Okay.
You know, I know a lot of rum glazes are quite watery. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm,
but I like mine to have, you know, in other words, once it's on the cake and once it has soaked in and now it's kind of cool, there will be a little crystallization like on the top of the cake.
Sure.
Rather than something soaked in something watery, there'll be almost like a crystallization there.
A caramelization.
A caramelization.
And that is just lovely to have on top of a winter holiday cake. That's so fitting, honestly.
And I do prefer that to the watery kind.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I give it a little bit more than 5 minutes.
And, you know, we're not brand specific. It could be any brand rum. We're not advertising a particular brand of anything.
No.
It could be any yellow cake mix. It is a box, this many ounces. Yeah. So this is just a great cake hack that delivers a big punch and a lot of flavor. And it's something people remember. I remember when I was newlywed and living in another state and brought this to a potluck at a office party. People hadn't had it before. I was surprised. And on one occasion, we were able to make mini bundt cakes using the same batter, the same glaze, and we used fondant to create those holly leaves and red berries. We used food coloring and fondant that we rolled out and shaped and cut out with cookie cutters. And we were able to make the holly leaves and red berries on each of the mini rum bundt cakes. That was quite the showing. So, you know, there's so much you can do, honestly, with a simple cake mix and a few additions and alterations. But this in particular. So what happened when you would go and after you made that first rum cake? Can you tell us what happened?
Oh, yes. I took some of it to the gentleman who worked behind the counter at the liquor store.
Okay.
Because they had pointed out the recipe book to me, and you know, so I wanted to, you know, show my appreciation.
Sure.
So I took them some of the rum cake. Well, they really, really liked it. I told them, you only make this, you know, at Christmas time of the holidays. But after that, you know, the holidays would come, and they'd want to know, was I there to buy the rum? Was I going to make the rum cake?
It's that lady who makes that cake every Christmas and winter. Yes.
So
sure
I
enough.
can kind of see here. I'm not expecting anybody else to see it, but I can kind of see because it looked like just a little thicker to me, like slightly more sugar, slightly less water when I was getting the sugar to melt. And so I may just do it 5 minutes. I can really tell by sort of the glossiness of the bubbles that are coming up.
Yes.
I can sort of tell it's getting to that stage that I want it to be.
Okay.
So now I see it's 9:03.
Okay.
So I might...
Now, we're not talking hardball.
No.
That's totally different. That's with candy
Yeah.
making. We have a thermometer for that, if ever we dared venture that way. But I also want to show how we prep the cake itself for the glaze. Do you mind if I do that now?
No, but I have to watch. I don't want to lose my focus on this because any minute now I will be taking it off the heat.
Okay.
And I will be putting the rum in it.
I see.
And when I do that, you have to be careful because when you pour that in, it really foams up, right?
Yes.
Now, that's the end of it as far as the recipe is concerned.
Okay.
I always put it back on the fire a little. I always make it bubble a little more once I've got the rum in there because I want to make really sure
the alcohol
that the alcohol is burned off.
Yes, I can understand that.
So
and you're left with the rum flavor.
Yes.
Now you could always do a rum extract, but that's just not the same.
It's not the same.
It's simply not.
And I can see from the way it's crystallizing on the edges when I stir it.
I see it.
As well as just the appearance of this.
Yes.
That we are really getting there. And right now it just says 9:05. So despite the fact that I said I'd give it a little bit more than 5 minutes, on this particular occasion, I think that's just about right.
Well, this is something you can't walk away from. You have to constantly monitor.
Yes, you do.
Absolutely. So
now I'm going to turn the heat off.
Turning it off. Okay, this is where the action is, folks.
I'm actually going to move it off the heat because it can really bubble up.
All right. Understood. Here we go.
And that's pre-measured. I know it's half a cup.
You already know.
That's all right. That was pretty good.
Yes, but you have to be prepared. I've seen it really froth up.
Okay. So now I'm going to put it back on the heat just a little. Again, because as I said, I have to be assured that the alcohol has burned off.
Understood.
It's a problem for me if it hasn't.
Yes.
So I have to do that.
And it helps to make it that much thicker.
Yes.
Isn't that right?
Yes, it does.
Oh, every drop. That's lovely.
Okay. So now we're going to take care of the bundt cake.
All right.
And so what we're going to do is I'm going to pierce the top several places.
With a plain wooden skewer. Yep. Understood. Just stab that. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Around the edge, all
just
through.
Go straight in and straight out because you don't want to be digging out hunks of cake or anything like that.
No.
That's what you're doing. And then we're going to take it out of the pan.
You don't necessarily go to the bottom either.
Yeah. Now this is just so we can poke holes in this side.
Yeah, because you're going to do this anyway. Oh, yes. How nice. It smells great, by the way.
So when I used to make this glaze, and I used to put the cake in the state it's in now on a cake plate. And ladle the glaze over the